getting your sports day started the right way. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, breaking down the biggest games.
If Texas Tech does not win the Big 12 football conference, who are you rooting for to win the conference if Tech does not win it this year?
Well, busting some chops along the way.
I hold back on sending you stuff. I mean, I'm very, very, very judicious.
We spend 3 hours a day, 5 days a week together. Why would we need to communicate during the weekends?
Right.
Save it for the show.
We do. We save it for the show.
Tune into the Morning Drive live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
Clint Scott's in for Jamie Lent with Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Nice to have you with us this morning on the Morning Drive. We are your sunrise sports station, but the sun won't rise. Right now we're in that time period where days are really short. Mm-hmm. So the sun doesn't really rise until almost the end of the 7 o'clock hour.
Do you like the early dark coming in the evening as well?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm a lighter later guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't care for that. Big fan of daylight savings time. Okay. Tomorrow we will have, as Jeff mentioned, Optimum Game Day Live coverage from Houston, from NRG, just right outside. We'll have coverage with Jamie will be in Houston, and then Clint is also traveling to Houston today. He's driving, and he'll get there faster than anybody trying to fly there. And then we'll take you all the way up to the Kick tomorrow with our Optimum Game Day Live coverage presented by United Supermarkets. And then after the game, a bonus edition of the Double T 97.3 Coors Light postgame show with our fine and friendly host, Garrett Luft.
Yeah, hopefully it's a very, very happy Garrett Luft.
Yeah, it takes a little bit for him to be happy.
Yeah.
Okay,
you have to have a near perfect game,
right?
And even he's what he is. I think he's precisely critical, and he's that coach that just wants you to be better, whether you win or whether you lose. But yeah, it's been there's been some very, very giddy Garrett Luft moments, though, over the past couple of years.
Yeah, this year was better. I don't think I had to remind him once that we won the game. Okay, there've been some times where hey, we did win the game. I mean, I know it was ugly, but we did win the game. So kind of keep that in mind. We get this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Been reading a lot of horror stories on websites about 90% of Southwest Airlines flights being canceled, including flights to Houston. Yeah. I had a buddy of mine, I say buddy, friend, acquaintance. How about that? Maybe acquaintance. Who had his flight canceled to Houston, yet at the same moment almost, Southwest Airlines delivered him a ad to his social media about flying to Houston.
I was already doing that.
I was
in the motion.
Now you want me to buy another one.
Hey, we heard you're somehow, some way, little birdie told us you're interested in going to Houston.
Right.
Click here.
Right. Dan in Dallas. Good morning, guys. Getting my last minute work done. Truck is packed and ready. My lucky lady is excited and ready. That's good.
All right.
Good morning. Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. Yes. South Texas Ambassador Preston. I bet you didn't know we had ambassadors on this program.
I did not. No, that's pretty good.
He represents us in South Texas, our friend Preston. He says, my buddy Matt Mills provided the stock for yesterday's Tech football rodeo at the Texas Bowl. Okay.
Well, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
When are we going to have a Raymar rodeo? I know we have a bull rider. You could do the announcing. You'd be great at it.
Oh, I could be the PA guy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like in the chute, Choice Woodman, he's off.
And he's off. And he's off his bull.
And here comes the stretcher.
Yeah. All that. 6:35 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that, or the mobile app. We will have bowl games for you today on 100.7 The Score. It all begins at 11 with the Camilla Bowl. This is Buffalo and Georgia Southern. Both teams are 6-6. Okay. Then we'll also have the Birmingham Bowl from Birmingham. Tech has participated in this bowl before. East Carolina and Coastal Carolina. Coastal is 9-3. East Carolina, the Pirates, are 7-5. And then later on tonight, Oklahoma State and Wisconsin. Okie State is 7-5. Badgers are 6-6. They have a new coach, although the interim coach is coaching this team. Luke Fickell, though, will be on a headset.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you add in the original announcement of the 4 teams that are coming to the Big 12, it just seemed like, boy, yeah, Luke Fickell, he's set. Going to be a Big 12 coach. He's going to get that Power 5 job without having to go to, boy, is he going to get the Notre Dame job? Well, will something of an Ohio State level that seems like that was the interest level, would that ever even be open? Doesn't feel like it. And then now at Wisconsin. And that's one of these bowl games where check at the start of the season, if I said, boy, look forward, it's going to be Oklahoma State and Wisconsin, you thought maybe that they did pretty well and finished second and third in their own conference, but you get here and Oklahoma State was a dumpster fire at the end and Wisconsin fired their coach.
Yeah,
so,
right.
It's one of those weird matchups right now.
Are you into the bowl season, or are you do you pick and choose your bowl games?
I used to be a lot more into to bowl games and the bowl season, and to be honest, the opt-outs over the past few seasons have kind of taken me out, and it just feels like there's just so many. So I've gotten more to the point where I pick and choose now. And also just, it rivals with college basketball, so that usually takes up more of my time right now. But to say like, hey, you're going to tune into a bowl game with like UAB and Troy, not so much. Used to be more.
Yeah, I'm
pro day sports though. Pro day sports.
Way more into the NFL for me than these nondescript bowl games.
Yeah. I will tune in for most of the Big 12 ones. Like I plan on watching the Oklahoma State one tonight when I get there just to see what they look like. But that could be a very weird showing. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to worry about the opt-outs with them because you know that, I mean, a lot of that Oklahoma State roster entered the transfer portal, a lot of guys with a lot of experience. But the way they were playing, you asked the question, which I think is a valid question around this time of years, who wants to actually be in this bowl game? I have no idea what the Cowboys are going to look like, but I can't imagine offensively it's going to be very pretty.
Yeah, and you start to wonder, at what point in time does Mike Gundy's kind of welcome wear out there, or his act wear out there?
Yeah, and he's gone through some rough patches with donors and with roster guys and
athletic directors.
I mean, it hasn't been smooth sailing, but you look up and at the same time, he's the third longest tenured head coach behind Kirk Ferentz, and I'm blanking on his name, from Utah. But I bet he's got a couple more years. I think it would take at least 2 seasons just like this, because again, they're still at a bowl game. Still 6 wins, and he hasn't. I think the one season that they don't finish with 6, I think he'd be gone.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, getting you ready for today's sports day.
3 of the first 4 games have been at home, so at some point in time you're going to have to venture outside the 806. So that'll start this week,
while having a little fun along the way.
Always good if you can blame it on somebody else, right?
Yeah, sure.
Especially some media guy.
Sure. Right, some media guy.
Catch the show live weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
27 December 2022, last Tuesday of the year. With this day in sports history, here's Jeff McGuire.
To start in 1919, Red Sox owner Harry Freese announces they will deal any player except Harry Hooper. I'm going to go ahead and spoil the story later in the year. Hooper would be sent to the White Sox after the 20 season.
Okay.
I think that was like a marketing tactic to get rid of him. We won't trade Harry Hooper. That's the only one. Wink.
Right. 1953 American Football League Championship, Briggs Stadium. Detroit Lions beat Cleveland 17-16 to retain their title. 1960, the 1961 NFL Draft took place. Tommy Mason of the University of Tulane is the first pick by the Minnesota Vikings.
In 1960, on this day, they did the 1961 draft.
Well, the draft for the 61 season.
Okay. No, I got you. It just seemed a little odd that they couldn't wait.
It seems very morning drive appropriate.
They couldn't wait like 4 or 5 days to get to 1961 for the 61 draft.
I think that was a big deal then. Anyone like up in arms?
Right.
Still 1960.
1964, the National Football League Championship took place at Cleveland Stadium. The Browns shut out the Colts 27-0. It was the last championship won by a Major League Pro Sports team from Cleveland until the 2016 NBA Cavaliers. 1973, Dodgers announced night games will start at 7:30 instead of at 8. Ooh, big push there.
Well, I mean, it'll just delay even more the Dodger fans who notoriously get there late. They couldn't get there at 8, so therefore 7:30.
That sounds like what they should have done is still had it at 8. And it could have been like what my mom would do. Okay, we're leaving at 6:30. Be ready to leave at 6:30 when we're actually leaving at 7. So when I was ready to leave at 7, we were on our way.
We were on time, right?
1981, Oiler Wayne Gretzky becomes the first NHLer to get 100 points in the fastest amount possible of 38 games.
Wayne Gretzky's a requirement of every day of this day in sports history, right?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how often I sip something from him. Yeah. However, being the youngest NHLer to get 100 points, I imagine.
No, there's no doubt. It says something, right?
1991, Bengals hired Dave Shula as the youngest NFL coach at 32.
That did not work out.
Did not. It's National Fruitcake Day.
No.
Completely out.
I complain about it a lot for someone who hasn't had a piece of fruitcake in probably like 8 years, but I don't necessarily want to. Just doesn't seem appealing.
I saw some at the store the other day. It was that you know that they're trying to get rid of stuff when they try to sell it right there at the cashiers. Like, hey, would you like some of this? No.
It's trying to do the last thing that you see. Oh, yeah, and on your way out, you get a Snickers, Kit Kat, or fruitcake. And, I'm out.
No.
Well, and that's a bad dessert, too, because there's desserts that are kind of iffy that people go, well, you can't get store-bought. Like my mom makes a great ginger snap. No one goes like, oh, you haven't lived till you've tried my grandma's, fruitcake. She just knocks it out of the park. No one even says that. Out.
Happy birthday to Bill Goldberg, who's 56.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Chubb, 27. Savannah Guthrie, 51. John Amos is 82. Cole Hamels, 39. Nolan Richardson is 81.
Golly, I didn't know he was still alive.
Carson Palmer, 43. And Chuck and Clint's favorite, it might be the reason you two people are here, Bill Self, 61 today.
How about that?
Happy birthday.
Now I feel disgusted.
You feel icky?
Yeah.
I need a shower again. 1944 in history, World War II dragged on. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt orders the Secretary of War to seize properties belonging to the Montgomery Ward Company because the company refused to comply with the labor agreement. Roosevelt ordered the Secretary of War to seize their plants in New York, Michigan, California, Illinois, Colorado, and Oregon. In his announcement that day, Roosevelt emphasized that the government would, quote, not tolerate any intolerance with the war production in this critical hour, end quote. He issued a stern warning to labor unions and industry managements alike. Quote, strike in wartime cannot be condoned, whether they are strikes by workers against their employers or strikes by employers against the government. And that is this day in sports history.
Okay, this day in sports history. John Amos, he was in Good Times, he was in Roots, but he was also a college football player. He played for Colorado State, played for the Rams. He's also a Golden Gloves boxing champion. He signed a free agent contract with the Chiefs. Hank Stram, then the coach said, you're not a football player. You're a man trying to play football.
He was also Mr. McDowell in Coming to America.
Right.
So that's all you need to know.
And he was the weatherman on the Mary Tyler Moore show back in the day. And he was JJ's father on Good Times.
Man, what a shot. You're a man trying to play football.
Well, he was honest.
Yeah. What a gut punch, though.
Yeah, no doubt. What a gut punch. Speaking of nailing something, Jeff McGuire, man, to the front of the line, he said on Friday on this fine radio show.
Well, I actually said it Tuesday behind the scenes, but
He did.
we talked about it Friday on the air.
He started calling that there would be Chris Beard news. He felt like that there would be a big news dump on Friday afternoon. I think you said about 3:15. You were off by.
I said sometime between like 3 and 3:30.
Yeah.
But if it went to 3:45, it wouldn't surprise me. Sometime in that ballpark.
Yeah, he had predicted that Texas was going to announce that Chris Beard was going to come back and coach.
What it was is if they didn't fire him then he would coach another game.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you.
It feels like you are currently in the correct camp with how this is starting to shake out.
I still don't see any way that they can bring him back. Certainly, what
Pay attention. They're doing it.
Certainly what his fiance said was attempt to save some money or capture some money back. But man alive, what a mess that is. I still feel like the lawyers are negotiating a settlement.
Yeah, and maybe it just feels like, because I always thought there was I had it 5% chance that he's back just because you never know in today's world of sports. But now it at least feels like that percentage has grown immensely from one news headline.
Do you think it's 50-50?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think it's 50-50.
You're listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
A little bit later on tonight, we'll have the Astros and the Diamondbacks. That'll be at 8. And then the Rangers playing at Seattle tonight.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
Was it pretty big?
Yeah. I mean,
Impressive?
Yeah.
Was it fascinating?
I thought it was fascinating. It kind of smelled, but I mean.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
Clint Scott is in for Jamie and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Jamie will be joining us tomorrow from Houston. Clint's going to drive down to Houston today, and we'll have Optimum Game Day Live coverage presented by United Supermarkets all day tomorrow, stem to stern, including the Double T 97.3 Coors Light postgame show, courtesy of Garrett Luft tomorrow night. It'll be early into the morning, so my guess is, it's an 8 o'clock kick, so about a 3.5, 4-hour game. And then an hour post game. That'll put the Double T 97.3 Coors Light post game show on the air about 2.
Yep,
about 2, between 1:30 and 2, I would think.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what we should say to him is, you might as well just carry it to the morning drive.
Yeah, just have a 4-hour party there.
Marathon.
Yeah. And
marathon.
Go all the way to 6. We'll have 20. Well, because then at that point, we could get all the way to 24 hours of live radio.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's everyone's dream, right? Listen to us for 24 hours.
Sure. I go to bed thinking about that. Thinking about Ole Miss tomorrow, and they're rushing. Quinshon Judkins is their big stud. 251 attempts, 1,476 net yards. He averages about 5.9 yards per tote. 16 touchdowns, and his longest run was 61 yards. They have another runner, Zach Evans, who's rushed for about 899 yards on the season.
Yeah, that's the TCU transfer, and it's funny with those guys. When speculation was happening as far as who you're going to play, what bowl game you're going to be in, and then this kind of started to come to fruition of, boy, it looks like you might actually be facing Ole Miss. And I remember seeing a couple people, and it's just funny with what you expect from Lane Kiffin and what he's had offensively, either as a coordinator, at a head coach from different stops, Alabama, USC. Someone went, oh man, I really don't want to face a passing attack right now with what you saw against Oklahoma. And it's like, well, good news, bad news. Good news is you're not facing a passing attack. I mean, they can throw it. The bad news is they have the SEC's leading rusher and the best rushing attack out of that conference.
Yeah. Their quarterback, Jackson Dart, 201 of 321. He has thrown 8 picks, 2,613 yards, and 18 touchdowns on the season. Are you bullish on Tyler Shuck, or are you just wondering if he's going to be here next year, or do you wonder how effective he can be tomorrow night? Given that his level of competition that he's played against hasn't been what the other fellas face, it's certainly not Donovan Smith, who's no longer with you.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he does tomorrow because I think, as you mentioned, of the 3 teams he faced, I think this will still be the best defense that he'll see. Well, other than Iowa State, but Iowa State, you're going back and forth in a weird game. But overall team, I think this is the best one that you will see. And does he play well? Does he have the offense going? Yeah, I have all those questions. I think he can. I think he will. But the second question is where I'm at right now. Is he even going to be here next year? And whether it is testing draft waters, whether it's sticking around and then seeing if he's on another campus, I wouldn't guess that he would transfer again. Again, you never know at this point. I think if he left, it would be more towards the testing the NFL waters. Now, the draft stock has obviously just fallen off from where he was when he first came here from Oregon, when he was, there was talk, boy, is this the first quarterback that's going to get taken? Is this one of the top 3 quarterbacks?
Right.
And then you have the double injuries. But still, if that's alluring enough, if, it felt like there was some grumblings there for a little bit after the last win in the quarterback room. And there
he grumbled.
Yeah, I mean, he grumbled. That's fair. But regardless, there was some stuff being thrown around. I don't know if he's going to be here next year.
I mean, he had a little chip on his shoulder after that last game. I mean, he's 82 of 138, 3 interceptions, 6 touchdowns for 1,062 yards.
I do think what you saw, though, in those, and with that chip on his shoulder, I would rather have a Tyler Shuck that does have that. Now, maybe not, if he's just calling out teammates or anything like that. And I didn't think it was that bad of what he said, personally.
And calling out people in the building that said they didn't have belief in him.
Sure.
But he called out his fellow quarterback teammates by saying, yeah, I knew I was going to get another chance.
Yeah. And so maybe if he goes back.
You have a different view on that than Jamie does.
I do. So I love how he worded it? No, but what I look at is you finally had a quarterback with some salt. Since he's been here, Tyler Shuck has been so freaking robotic. Like, it's been like, I'm Mr. Quarterback. I do say what I'm supposed to say, do what I'm supposed to do. And man, if I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes of being this kind of the guy, you win the starting job 2 seasons in a row. You have injuries, you have people questioning him, you have people in the fan base calling him a paper quarterback. Again, all fair, because when you're hurt to that extent and you don't see him on the field, you're not seeing him on the field. And those last 3 games, I felt like he answered the bell, and I don't know what's going on in the locker room. Again, if he had that situation again and he was asked the same question, would I have liked to have him either worded it differently or approached it differently? Sure, but I kind of like a little edge to your quarterback. I think offensively at times you needed a little edge. And to be honest, when you look at some of the games that you dropped, you didn't have that. And I don't like the calling out teammates and stuff, but it felt like a pent-up kind of got it out of his system. Now, if he does stick around next year and it's like turns into, oh, man, yeah, knew we were going to lose this game because the wide receivers keep dropping balls and something like that, and I don't think it would progress and snowball to that effect, then that would be bad. But just the one-time kind of offense feeling, I didn't have a huge issue with it.
Okay. Does he finish the game tomorrow, or does he get hurt tomorrow?
I think he finishes the game tomorrow.
Okay. Do we see Baron Morton tomorrow?
I do. I think it'll be the same deal. I think we will see. Well, I guess since Donovan Smith won't be there, we'll see the two main ones in some facet.
But Baron, I mean, they'll use Baron differently than they would use Donovan Smith. I mean, they're not going to use him in that same role.
Right. They're not going to put him as like an up back spot and throw stuff like that, or at least we think,
or hand the ball off or flip it to him or something like that.
I think we will see him on the field in some way or fashion, whether it be a play or 5 plays. I think we'll see something. Were
you sorry to see Donovan Smith go?
Yeah, I was. I really, really enjoyed him. And obviously, you need as much depth at that spot as possible. Mm-hmm. But I loved what you were doing with him late in the season. I understood it. Didn't love that he went to Houston. Didn't love that he'll be back in the conference immediately. But I understood his move.
When you were singing those those lyrics there just for a second ago, I thought you were going to break into a little Mr. Roboto. Are you familiar with that song?
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, Domo.
Yeah. Domo.
Domo?
Domo.
Yeah. Right. I thought maybe for a second there you were headed that way. 7:23 this morning here on the morning drive. Give me somebody who could have a big game for you tomorrow.
I've got pegged Krishan Merriweather on the defensive side, and I think you're going to see a lot of kind of second level tackles. I mean, you mentioned, especially the top two running backs there with the rushing attack. You're going to need that. You're going to see a lot of chunk ones.
How about offensively?
Offensively, boy, give me Taj Brooks.
Okay.
I'm going with Taj.
I was thinking Saradrick, and then I was also thinking Xavier White.
Yeah, I think just with your rushing attack, because you saw that really get really good at the end and started to use it a little more consistently. I think it could be Taj or Saradrick. I think you'll use them evenly. My guess is maybe Saradrick gets a few more yards, but Taj gets a few closer touchdowns.
Your morning dose of coffee and sports. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Catch the show live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Double T 97.3 FM or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is presented by Bizarre Solutions. Call them today for a free cybersecurity audit.
All right, what you got for me? You know that I secretly covet take versus take, right?
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah. You should have told me. We could have just transferred it, made a trade for it.
Is that transient property?
Yeah, I have explicit instructions for Jamie Lent not to let that happen, actually. So, sorry.
Would you rather be a competitor on take versus take, or would you rather have the questions? Because I think you would do both at both.
I'd like to answer the questions. But I'll answer your question, and so will Jeff, and so will our fine listening audience.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll hand out points today for Jamie's question of the day, and we'll get it as close to take versus take as possible.
Okay.
We don't have to get into how bullish we are on the Cowboys yet for this question, but I do want to go to the NFL and to the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. One, and I know you still have the faintest, most outside of shots to getting the 1 seed and not being the top wild card, but in the very slim chances of that we'll approach it that way today. If you are a Cowboys fan and you're looking at who could be your first opponent between the Bucs and the Panthers, are you rooting for one to win out of who you would rather face, or do you care?
I don't want to face Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, I think until he's like dead and buried, he's a guy that can single-handedly will his team to a victory. And I'm not sure there's anybody else in the NFL that has that ability right now to do that. Mm-hmm. Where he could. And I know he's 45 years old, but I mean, the dude just finds a way to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously, the legend has not left. I'm with you right now in that it doesn't matter how down of a year that he's finally having. Still, the name Tom Brady is still there. You still kind of the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't want to see Aaron Rodgers, even though they're a completely different boat right now. But from a Cowboys standpoint, guys that have owned you when you have played them, which, it's been more recent that you've seen them more, for him finally being in the NFC, but the greatest of all time, depending on how you look at him, is still going to find a way to be dangerous in the playoffs, even if they come in with a losing record. I'm just curious if, as a whole, of the Cowboys fan base, if they still put stock into that. Jeff?
I would rather face the NFL All-Pro team than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round of the playoffs. Because at least losing to the NFL All-Pro team would make sense. Mm-hmm. It's not going to make any sense to lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You're going to, because Tom Brady is their quarterback.
So no confidence level if that
none,
matchup
zero,
zero,
nada, zilch.
I'm with him.
Leaning toward negative numbers in confidence versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
How about the Carolina Panthers? I mean, they still have a shot at getting into the playoffs. It's crazy.
Well, and
they fired their coach.
they fire their coach, and as of right now, the way that their schedule shapes out, I mean, they control their own destiny. Those two teams are going to go head-to-head this week. So really, it's more of now they would still figuratively have to win out, but really the question for Jamie's question of the day goes to, boy, if you're tuning in this Sunday, who are you rooting for? And I would guess it would almost all of Dallas fans would be going all the way in on Carolina this week.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's a vampire, until you drive a stake through his heart. Even then, kind of feel like that he'll be able to rise up.
Boy, yeah, I can imagine him sleeping in a coffin now after taking a nice avocado shake and just rising. Do you think anybody
in the NFL wants to face Tom Brady in the playoffs?
No, I don't think anybody does. And the other side of that too, you shouldn't have to worry about them as much as a Cowboy standpoint. But I said the name Aaron Rodgers, and they've had a down season. But how about them? They're still in the hunt and have yet to be eliminated. It's funny in a season where finally the two of the, top name quarterbacks that have been around forever, have dominated the NFL forever, have won consistently. MVPs and stat leaders, all of that. Even in a down year, I see either of those names from the NFC, and I don't want to be facing them right now. From the Tom Brady standpoint, again, the legend status, he has been there, which goes a long ways in the NFL. He has done that. And now from the same team that he's on in the NFC, it was the first time they did it with Tampa. I think there were some questions because he was surrounded by guys in a coaching staff who hadn't. But now, whether it's gone poorly this year or not, I don't want to face the legend status. And if it's an Aaron Rodgers, if they play their way into the playoffs as they are starting to kind of traject themselves, do you really want to face a red-hot Aaron Rodgers in the playoff? I don't.
Yeah, I don't think the Packers are going to make the playoffs.
I don't think they will, but if they do, the chain of events of them just winning and winning and winning, which the NFC standings right now, they are 7-8. The Lions are 7-8. The Seahawks are 7-8. And those are the three that are on the outside looking in. Do you think all four NFC East teams get in?
No.
I think the Commanders will fall out.
How likely is it that Cliff Kingsbury survives with Arizona?
Oof. Man, I was reading an article, and it seemed very rumorish, but boy, Cliff Kingsbury could walk away on his own accord. Why would he walk away from that extension? The extension is what kind of stops me. The Cardinals put themselves in a very strange situation where he's on now that Rule is gone and now that Hackett has been fired, feels like he's on the hottest seat by far in the NFL.
Yeah.
But how much does that 5-year extension, just being the first year of that, how much does that weigh into them keeping him around? Because it seems like they're ready for just a destruction, not just of him, but, boy, Kyler Murray. Who wants to come in and coach him right now?
Yeah, I thought that was a mistake. It's easy to say that now, but just to me, Kyler Murray looks like a high school quarterback.
Yeah, and there's clearly maturity issues. You don't have a leader right now. It's just a mess over there.
He's not tall enough.
Yeah, I don't play as much into the height, but when your maturity is your height, that's that's not good.
You're tuned in to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
That's not to say that they don't respect the run game that you have, but you're talking about one quarterback leading the conference in passing so far this year. And remember, he didn't start the first game.
All right.
Still played a lot, though.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
I just don't want to disappoint you. As much as I disappoint you, I don't want to disappoint you in some things that you expect from me.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
8:01 this morning on the Morning Drive. Good morning with Jamie Lent out, Clint Scott in, Jeff McGuire in. I'm Chuck Heinz. Nice to have you with us this morning as we come to you from the First United Bank studio here in downtown Lubbock, and anxious to hear from you this morning on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet97.3.com for that, or the mobile app. Benchmark Hotline is open as well at 806-771-0973. You can go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank to weigh in on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Clint and Chuck, this is discombobulating. Well, I'm sorry. It's discombobulating.
I think it's a compliment of being discombobulated. That's what I'll go with.
Okay.
That's one of those fun words that you don't get to use every day.
Right.
So that's why it's a good thing that we got to see it and read it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We'll have for you on the air today three different Bulls games. The Camilla Bowl. I always think of the hurricane with that, like Hurricane Camilla. I always think that is a bad name for a bowl, Camilla, because of the hurricane.
Yeah. Is it Camilla or Camellia?
Probably Camellia, but I always think of it as Camilla, the hurricane.
Okay.
I'll
think of it as Boy George instead.
Okay. Then we'll have the Birmingham Bowl at 6:45 tonight on 100.7 The Score, and the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which is Okie State and Wisconsin. Do you care who wins any of these games?
Generally, especially this year, I will root for Big 12 teams, all but three, Kansas State, Texas, and Oklahoma. And it didn't used to be so much for Oklahoma, but now with those two until that they leave the SEC, I do not want them to have postseason success. Mm-hmm. Now, like the other night when I was sitting there and I was rooting for Baylor to beat Air Force,
were you really?
Was I distraught?
Why?
I am one that wants the conference to see respect. I do, and
I don't care
get
about that.
I get that not everyone like that. I mean, not everyone buys into that, but especially this year, after any sort of thing I can throw back at the Big Ten, trying to make it the Big Two and all of that, even though top to bottom, Big 12 is a much more viable football conference than what the Big Ten is, because their floor is certainly lower than what your conference's floor is. I do buy into that. And now, that being said, like when I was rooting for Baylor the other night and Air Force was just, shoving it down their throat, was I just distraught?
Yeah.
No. I was still laughing a little bit, and it got to the point where I got past that and was enjoying the result. But it's in general, we'll root for 70% of the Big 12.
Somebody hyphenatically spelled the hurricane for me out for Hurricane Camille. Yeah, Camille. That's right. Camille. I don't know why. It's like, I don't know if you knew this or not, because I don't know how much you listen to this fine, highly produced, well-organized radio program that we have here called The Morning Drive. But did you know that probably for the entire time that it's been built, and I still am suspect of it, down the street is the Buddy Holly Hall. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's built on a site that was destroyed by the Lubbock tornado in 1970. And I just thought it was really weird that they had a tornado symbol on the side of the Buddy Holly Hall building. I didn't understand that. I thought that was kind of weird, but people have pointed out to me, including my wife and daughter number one, that it's actually Buddy Holly's initials that are scribbled out there that makes it look like a tornado symbol.
Okay, so I need to go driven by it a ton, been to it a couple times now. I need to really focus in on the tornado scribble, because I hadn't noticed that once. That was his. And
I talked to others signature. About that too, and they were in complete agreement with me on that. But
that the tornado's an odd choice.
Yeah, it was an odd choice for to have on. It's like we're mocking the tornado or mocking tornadoes in general.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's Buddy Holly's initials that are on there.
I had no idea. See, learn something new every day.
It's trivial, okay, but you do kind of pick up some things. I couldn't care less about respect for the Big 12. I care about two teams in the Big 12, and that's it. I mean, The Big 12 can lose all their bowl games. I'm not rooting for TCU on Saturday in the college football semifinal. I won't root for them if they get to the national championship game. I didn't root for Baylor when they got to the national championship game in college basketball. So
basketball is a little bit different for me. I tend to do the opposite of what I do because the way that I look at it right now where the Big 12 is, in basketball, the conference is going to take care of itself. It's already the best conference to me in college basketball. I don't think very many will dispute that. There will be some, but I think overall there is a healthy respect for Big 12 basketball where there is not.
You've won the last 2 championships and you should have won the last 3.
And there is not that same level of respect in football, and especially as you approach the new conference. Basketball is just going to get better with the teams you're bringing in, or at least be at the same level. Football, you're in a brand new world. I'm not going to die on the hill of saying, fighting with someone of why they should be rooting for the Big 12 because I get it. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But but football-wise, you're just not on the same playing field that you are with basketball, and I guess that's where I'm coming from when I am rooting for the Big 12 in these bowl games. And again, there are still the ones that I won't, and really as far as the new Big 12, it's just the one that I hate the most in the conference, and that is those Purple Kitties. Roll Tide. But as a whole, that's where I come from when I'm rooting for the Big 12. It's not I just really love everybody in the conference, hands together. I just think it's more of a kind of taking some medicine to help you be better.
So let me ask you this, and then because I want to get to the Cowboys. So if you had your choice of the Big 12 being dominant in college basketball like they are, or dominant in college football like they aren't, would you flip it, or would you stay with the way that it is?
No, I'm too big of a college basketball fan.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't flip it. Yeah, I know that's the slim percentage answer, but it's my honest answer.
It's you two. That's the extent of that. Give that answer.
Now, I don't care about the rest of the Big 12 other than a couple of teams.
You've been listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3. For more from Lubbock Sports Station, go to doublet973.com.